This lesson is raising and consuming events. Do you know why you should subscribe to YouTube channels? You'll get notifications when new videos appear. You'll get recommendations for related channels. It helps the channel grow, which allows me to create more videos for you. It helps attract others to my channel. Your like helps others find videos that are good. So please take the time to like and subscribe to my channel, Paul D. Sheriff. The objectives for this lesson are to create an event, consume an event, create an EventArgs class, and add custom properties. Let's dive right in and create an event. What I've done off camera is I removed the common.library project and I removed all the other classes except the program.cs from the C# samples project. Let's add a new class called File System Helper. Now what we're going to use this particular class for is for doing different operations on the file system on our computer. For example, I've got a public void load all folders. We're going to pass in a top level folder, and what we're going to do is on line 9, go out and get all the directories under this folder and all directories under that. We will then iterate over each folder. We're going to keep an index going so that every 10th folder, we're going to invoke an event handler. So what you have to do first is you have to declare your intention to use an event or raise an event. So on line 5, public event, event handler, that's a class in the .NET framework, and then we give it a name, every 10 folders. Then on line 14, every 10 folders, question mark. What does that mean? It means make sure that every 10 folders has somebody subscribed to it, because otherwise it's null. And if it's not null, let's go ahead and invoke that event. Let's raise that event. And we pass to that invoke 2 arguments. We pass in this and EventArgs.empty. This meaning current object that's executing. And EventArgs.empty just means we have an empty EventArgs. So that's our class that creates the event and will invoke the event. Let's now take a look at consuming that event. So to consume that, we're going to go ahead and do a using on our C# samples, because that's where I created the File System Helper class. I'm going to locate that, and I'll create a new instance of it. Now I want to handle that event. So I use the every 10 folders. You can see it's an event, that little lightning bolt there. And I do a plus equals, and it actually says press tab to insert. So it actually creates that event procedure for me. I don't need to rename it, so I'm fine. What it does, it creates a void helper underscore every 10 folders, and there's the 2 parameters. Remember we were passing as arguments this and EventArgs. Well, now we've got this, meaning the sender who sent the event. That's an instance of the file system helper, and EventArgs E, so that is going to be empty. Now I think all we'll do in here is we'll just type in console.writeLine read 10 folders. How about that? That sounds good. All right, now all we have to do is call helper dot load all folders, and we pass in a folder. Now I'm going to use my training folder .NET 6 because I've got a lot of folders underneath that. So there we go. We now have connected up to that every 10 folders event. If we run this, we now see there's a lot of folders there, because you can see how many times it said read 10 folders. So there we go. We have now created an event, and we have now consumed that event. Sometimes you'll wish to pass your own custom data from your class to the event argument. To do that, we need to create an EventArgs class. Right mouse click on the project and add a class, and we'll call this one File EventArgs. Now all we're going to do for this particular one is we're going to create 2 properties, file name and the file number. Each class that you're using as an EventArg must inherit from EventArgs. So make sure you inherit from EventArgs, as you can see here. Let's now open the File System Helper And let's add a new event now. So I'm adding a public event handler, but now I'm using what's called a generic here, and I'm saying file EventArgs is the actual event argument class. And I'm going to call the event display file. Then what we're going to do is add a new method that will now raise that event. So let's come down here and let's create load all files. Again, we're going to pass in a top level folder. We're then going to call directory.getFiles, look for all Word documents, and we'll search all the directories. And then for each time through the loop here, which we get back as this array of files, we're going to invoke the display file event. And we're going to pass in this, right? So the object itself, new, file name, file number equals index. So we're creating a new file EventArgs object and setting the two properties that we see here. Now that we have this new EventArgs class, let's take a look at how we consume that data within the event handler. I'm going to go ahead and kill all the rest of this, but I'm going to leave the file system helper. Now we'll do a helper dot display file plus equals, and then I'll hit tab to have it go ahead and build my event handler. Now look what it did. It automatically detected that the file EventArgs was what it needed to use for that second parameter. So it builds that for me automatically. So what we'll do is we'll add a console.writeLine in here, like so, and we'll display the two values from that E parameter that got passed in. So it's e.filenumber and e.filename. Then all we have to do is we simply call that new method we just wrote called loadAllFiles. That's the one that's going to raise this display file event. Let's go ahead and run this. And we can see a lot of information here. Let's expand this out a little bit. There we go. So now you can see how many different documents I have in this one folder. There's a lot here. But that's how you create a custom class that you can then pass to an event procedure. In this lesson, we created an event using an event handler. We consumed that event to receive that event argument, and we even learned to pass data to that event argument using our own custom EventArgs class. Coming up next, generics eliminate code bloat.